Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, and a pleasant good afternoon to all listening to this broadcast via whatever means. New emergency powers regulations have replaced the previous regulations. These new regulations run from August 9th to August 23rd, and as usual, they provide for measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Today, my presentation will focus on three of the measures provided for in these regulations. These will be night curfew, restrictions on social activities, and quarantine. Regulation 3 imposes a period of night curfew every day from 11:01 p.m. to 5 a.m. the following day. One question that is commonly asked is whether or not curfews are really necessary. If people can still go out earlier in the day and can do the same things. Well, curfews reduce the number of opportunities and activities where people gather in groups and get them home with only members of their household. The purpose of curfews is to reduce disease transmission while not completely disrupting citizens' lives or instituting a full lockdown. Night curfews require people to stay at home in the late night and early morning hours, when people tend to participate in non-essential social gatherings that often result in less compliance with social distancing guidance and mask wearing requirements. We therefore appeal to persons who are not required for work during this curfew period to remain at your residence. Businesses and establishments are encouraged to close their operations in sufficient time to permit their staff and patrons to get home before the curfew begins. Restrictions on social events. The new regulations still prohibits mass gatherings and provide for limited social activities with the approval of the Commissioner of Police. When granting permission for these activities, several risk factors are considered. One, the number of COVID-19 cases in the community. High or increasing levels of COVID-19 cases in the event location or locations the attendees are coming from will increase the risk of infection and spread among attendees. There are currently about 50 active cases of COVID-19 in the Federation, and we have an average of about 5 new cases daily. These numbers are taken into account when applications are being processed. The setting of the event. Indoor events, especially in places with poor ventilation, poses greater risk than outdoor events. The length of the event. Events that last longer poses more risk than shorter events. Being within 6 feet of someone who has COVID-19 for a total of 15 minutes or more significantly increases risk of becoming infected. The number and crowding of people at the event. Events with more people increase the likelihood of being exposed. Therefore, events with higher numbers may be given less favorable consideration. The behavior of attendees during an event. Events where people engage in behaviors such as interacting with others from outside their household, singing, shouting, or not maintaining physical distance, or not wearing masks consistently and correctly increase the risk of infection. Once we would have weighed these risk factors, we then make a determination on the level of risk we are prepared to take, and a decision is made accordingly. Quarantine. Quarantine is used to separate and restrict the movement of persons who may have been exposed to a communicable disease, such as COVID-19, or who may have traveled from a country that is considered a hotspot for the virus, to see if they will eventually become ill. The current emergency powers regulations require all incoming travelers to undergo a period of quarantine before they integrate into the community. Regulation 14.5 provides that all arriving travelers who are fully vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus shall A, remain in a government-approved COVID-19 hotel or quarantine facility for a period of 4 days, or B, quarantine at a private residence certified by the National COVID-19 Task Force for a period of 4 days, and no private security is required. Subsection 6 provides that all persons who are not fully vaccinated shall remain in quarantine for at least 14 days at a government quarantine facility. Children under 18 years who are traveling with fully vaccinated parents will be subject to the same quarantine time as their parents. Persons in quarantine shall only be released from quarantine upon receiving a negative RT-PCR test. Incoming travelers who wish to quarantine at home must first apply online at www.covid19.gov.kn and complete the pre-approved home quarantine application form and submit same. Representatives of the task force will visit the property and inspect it, and then you will be notified whether or not your application was successful. Persons whose applications are approved will be sent formal notification along with the guidelines and conditions of their quarantine. It is important to note that any violation of the quarantine conditions will lead to criminal prosecution under the Quarantine Act, which provides for fines of up to $5,500 or 6 months in prison upon conviction. We look forward for your fullest cooperation with all of these prevention measures, which are intended to keep us all safe. Thank you.